about mastering MIT
You stream. Look, it's YouTube.
Oh, here we go.
Oh. All right. We need 5 more seconds. Yeah, so we have to, in the future, we'll have to show and tell. And YouTube will have to do show and tell externally.
Well, the thing is, it changes every week.
Sometimes. Okay.
We're good.
Well, we tend to go over anyways.
That's fine. Okay, and here we go. Cool. You ready? Live from New York, it's Ask a Bunch of Engineers.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the engineer party we're having here at Adafruit headquarters. We've got just a gaggle of engineers. I don't know, what do you call a bunch of engineers? Is there like a word for it?
I think it's the same word used for a box of screws.
Okay.
Let's just use box.
It's a box of engineers. Okay, so I'm Lady Ada, I'm the engineer. I got Phil on camera control.
Yeah.
I got Charles Guan, who's a mechie. We've got 3 more engineers. Could you
Yeah,
introduce them?
just do a shout out.
Shout
Hannah,
out.
right?
Hannah, Bio,
Cynthia.
EE,
Nancy, Mikey.
Neki, and we are the engineers.
All right.
We're starting a K-pop band next week, so
And I'm
we're
the
down.
lead singer.
He's the lead singer.
Yeah.
I'm on synths.
I'm the manager, and when they get too old, we just replace one of them. like Menudo.
Like
so.
a vat of okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've got an exciting show. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
robotics to talk about. This is like a robotics themed show and tell.
It is. This is our first studio audience that we're doing too. So
Yeah.
if anything comes up, you guys can chime in.
Okay.
But Charles, maybe quickly introduce yourself, what you do, and who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Charles, and I'm currently an instructor at MIT. I teach mechanical engineering class based on building go-karts. So my history as an engineer is I started tinkering and building with stuff, so this might sound really familiar, when I was like 10 or 11. And I actually got into it by watching the show BattleBots. Now, who remembers that, BattleBots? I was on Comedy Central after South Park, which I wasn't supposed to be watching. But then, I found, oh man, fighting robots. So my first forays into mechanical engineering were, just cobbling things together like microwaves and RC cars. And then that grew to a more like legitimate hobby as I entered high school. And then high school, like I built and competed in tournaments like 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
So
They had first in high school when you were in high school?
yeah,
Okay.
and I actually started my high school's first team in 2006 also. It's just like, I want to broaden the robotics horizon a little bit. So then that magically got me into MIT, and I majored in mechanical engineering, graduated in 2011. Was known infamously, perhaps, for building many contraptions that rolled around campus. And then I started my master's, ended up not really liking my master's. My thesis was to teach the go-kart class, and I ended up really liking the go-kart class. So we'll probably hear a little more about that shortly. So that's where I stand now.
Okay, where, in what course is the go-kart class? Is it a mechie class?
So it's a mechanical engineering class.
And is it like a credit class?
So right now it's currently like a lab section of a bigger design class.
Okay.
MIT's 2007, which was the original inspiration for FIRST back in this like the 80s or something.
Yeah.
Recently we've expanded.
I'm not that old. I did 2007, by the way.
Yeah.
It was 90s too.
Well, recently being like 2009-ish.
Yeah.
They started expanding that class into many different like special interests groups. And at the time, I was interested in electric vehicles and building electric vehicles. So we realized that was an opportunity to kind of like spread the gospel. Because I think building a little personal electric vehicle is a great way to learn a lot of different types of engineering. Got your mechanical, your drivetrain, your electrical, your hookup. If you want fancy lights and speakers and sound, so Adafruit's got the products for you. That too.
So there's a lot, but it's true. It's actually really hard to build. We'll talk more about fun go-karts because we love go-karts. But that's really actually kind of neat because it's a lot of kids. I kind of like to see how as more equipment materials are available. Like, when I was a kid, I built like a go-kart, but it was like there's no motors. You just you just go to the top of the hill and you would just roll down, and that was like that's the best you could do. Yeah, if you had brakes, good. If not, and then people do like derby car races and stuff like that. And now it's like we can actually add motors, and also like kids used to do like RC cars and RC helicopters and RC planes, and now you know almost anyone can do RC stuff, RC planes and drones, and actually program them and add a lot more intelligence and a lot more sensors and technology to it. So that's kind of neat because it's like it's getting much easier and much better. Like I think when I was first getting into like kids, people said like, oh, like nobody builds electronics anymore. It's so hard these days. Everything's surface mount. But actually, it's become easier in some ways to get the really high-tech stuff into people's hands.
Yeah, and formerly, if you were interested in a mechanical hobby, like even a few years ago, you were just working on cars, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's a mechanical hobby. You know, that or your dad was a machinist or something, and you made like, you know, little pens and stuff for people. So these days what we're seeing is a lot more integration of these domains of engineering as they realize kind of each other exist, and that if they coexist, really, really funky things can happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a tour of some of your projects. We went through your site, and there was a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot. And I like
There's this thing on fire. This thing on fire.
I also like that you showed things that didn't quite work out. I think that's powerful.
I love documentation, and I think one of the things in my class that I'm pushing is for students to actually blog their builds. One of the things you'll see on my website is just this gigantic sidebar of people who've built and documented stuff, and I think it's very valuable because the way I learned engineering and the way a lot of my friends did, they read BattleBot Builder reports. Like back in the day when you took 20 minutes to upload this sweet picture of your motor onto the internet, you did it anyway just because you know like someone's going to find that really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's a great resource, especially if you post things that didn't work. You can build a portfolio site that's like everything that's all shiny and modern and Web 2.0. It's like this is a great, you know, photo of your project on the photo booth. But you know, if you show stuff that lit on fire and explain why it lit on fire.
Don't do this.
Yeah. Do not do this ever.
not do this.
Do not buy this, and do not especially plug it in backwards. Etc.
That's more useful.
Okay. Well, we'll show some of your projects soon.
Okay.
We're gonna go over some stuff.
Let's do some news.
Let's do the normal Ask an Engineer stuff. Tonight's code is Motor Shield.
Motors.
I like motors, Charles. 10% off
like motors
everything
very much.
everything in the Adafruit store, including the new Motor Shield. We'll go over the show and tell. Special guest Charles is here. Some news in the world of open source hardware. Some news in the world of Arduino. We'll have mailbag. Wearable Wednesday. 3D Thursday. Pi Day. We're going to go through some amazing projects from the world of Charles and everything with wheels and electric.
It has wheels. It's on the blog.
And mostly win, and sometimes it mostly fails. So lots of good stuff from there. We'll have new products.
Spend a lot of time on the website.
All your stuff. We'll have answer your questions. We'll have a trivia question. I don't know if we'll have top secret. All that and more on Ask an Engineer. Okay, we're back.
We're here.
All right, so first up, the code is Motor Shield, 10% off everything in the Adafruit store. That's how we pay the bills here. First thing, you guys were on the show and tell. You saw all the stuff. Lady Ada, Charles, what did you see on the show and tell?
On the show and tell, we had Kevin Osborne showed up. He made an e-ink-based open source hardware badge for the Open Source Hardware Conference. Open Source Hardware Conference is at MIT. I think even MITRES is sponsoring it. Okay.
MITRES is kind of the organizer for the event.
Yeah, they are the people who put their names on the piece of paper for getting Kresge. So go MITRES and go to the Open Source Hardware Conference and sign up, and you will get one of these awesome e-ink badges. And then you also hacked some laser tag for this kid. Sally showed up. She made a volcano coat before, but this time she made a flower coat and a constellation coat using fluoropixels. There's 59 pixels. It's a lot of pixels. Even I'm a little scared of soldering them at 70 pixels to a coat. But she did it. Go Sally. Terry showed up. She's back with more galvas, more laser, more Arduino droids. She played asteroids using a galvo system laser display. It's pretty vicious.
No, that was a serious light show there.
That was serious engineering.
Yeah, I'm going to capture where she had the intro and it had the Adafruit logo and it spelled out.
That was so cool. I'm going to make that. I'm going to make that. It's so cool.
How do you run that with an Arduino? That's a lot of horsepower.
Actually, so it's not, well, I know because for 6101, I tried to build a Galvo light show and I totally failed. So I know a lot about how not to do Galvos. The way you don't do it is you don't just buy the raw Galvos and then try to build a feedback control system because you will not be able to do it. Instead, you buy the ones that have the feedback control system built in.
Is that what they were talking about by 20K, 30K, and that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
so that means that's the crossover of
Okay.
of how fast you could drive it. So it's 30 kilohertz.
Right.
And you tweak the control board does all the analog feedback for you. So you just feed it in the analog voltage and it just sweeps X, Y, and then you just treat it like an oscilloscope display. So it's like that. Then it becomes quite easy because you just use a DAC.
Yeah, I've never built anything with lasers, but after seeing that, I kind of want to try.
The laser part's easy. It's the galvos that suck. But yeah, if you have these feedback control boards, which you can get now for really cheap, it does the feedback. So when you make a square, it actually makes a square. Whereas what I was trying to do is actually it's oscillate. Okay, I will fix it in the software, and it didn't really work out. But you got it working. Go Terry.
Yeah, I kind of want to point a 100 watt laser into that and make a laser sintering 3D printer now.
So yeah, you could actually get a printed record of your gameplay on a wall.
Burn into the wall.
Yeah.
You could.
Yep.
I would not buy a 100 watt laser. Bad for you. And then Phil B showed up, and he has been doing some awesome stuff. He's making an on-air sign that will automatically turn on when we're doing show and tell and ask engineer, which is awesome. He battled the Twitter 1.1 OAuth API, and he devastated it. You can actually now do the Twitter OAuth API using an Arduino without another website to help you. It's direct to Twitter OAuth authentication. There's encryption, there's Macs, there's developer API keys. It works. Thank you, Phil. I know that sucked. But
Is there a shield plan for this? The Arduino tweet shield or something?
well, we have a lot of stuff that uses Twitter in it. So we have this printer that'll print out tweets. And the old API was an unauthorized, you just HTTP to it and you just send it a query and it will send you back tweets. And now you have to do this authorization stuff. And it's it's not hard if you have more than 2 kilobytes of RAM. But if you're on a 2 kilobytes of RAM type of thing, it gets difficult because you actually have to do these hashes and send this data, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Anyways, good job, Phil.
Okay. How do people get on the show and tell, Lady Ada?
Getting on the show and tell is easy. Go to our Google Plus page at plus.google.com/+Adafruit. Find the post where we say comment here to get added to the show and tell. Add yourself to the show and tell by commenting. We'll add you, and the next week at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we will get invited, and you can show off your laser sintering 3D robot flower coat.
Yeah. All participants on the show and tell will receive a As Seen on the Show and Tell sticker.
It's a lovely sticker.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on this.
Yeah.
We're on this.
We're on this.
We're on it. We just have to look. Other people do stuff. We have to tell them.
And you went over the e-ink badges. From
Sign up for Open Source Hardware Conference and get this badge. That's the only way to get it. Go, pay,
All right.
attend.
Next up, some sad news in the world. Amar Bose just passed away from Bose.
That looks suspiciously like 26100.
Well, he was an instructor at MIT for years.
Yeah.
And he did something interesting, too.
I know that chalkboard anywhere.
He gave away a majority of the company's shares to MIT.
Yeah.
As long as they won't sell them, and they're non-voting shares. And he had this interesting quote, and he said, if my company was run by a bunch of MBAs, I would have been fired many times over. I just wanted to do interesting things and make and solve interesting problems. Really cool. They never went public. Bose is not a public company. 9,000 employees worldwide, 185 stores. Incredible engineering.
He was teaching up till 2000. He taught an acoustics class at MIT.
Yeah.
That you had to lottery to get into, and it was apparently the coolest class because he would just be like, "Hi, I'm Bose. I'm going to teach you acoustics," and you'd learn acoustics.
83 years old, and so engineering legend. I mean, it shows that you don't have to run a company the way everyone says you're supposed to, and you don't have to not give back and do things.
Yeah, he's cool.
So, okay. Next up, we'll just blow through some news really fast. Lady Ada, you did an article this week. What was your favorite gadget? And they were expecting you to say a phone. You didn't even own a cell phone.
I don't own a cell phone.
So you picked a Pick and Place.
But I do own a Pick and Place.
Yeah. So this is on Medium. It's a new blogging system.
I love this Pick and Place.
So you wrote about your favorite gadget, which was a Samsung Pick and Place. You guys just saw the Pick and Place. Not a bad gadget, right? It makes gadgets.
It's a gadget making gadget. I mean, you gotta go. It doesn't fit in your purse. But it makes things that can fit in your purse. Makes things, and I like that. It's very useful.
Yeah. Some news in the world of open source hardware. The Open Source Hardware Summit is coming up to MIT.
There's an awesome badge.
They are looking for sponsors. We sponsored it, and we also gave money to the Open Source Hardware Association. Get on that if you can. Next up, Phil B released the Twitter updates. We just went over that from Show and Tell, so we're going to keep moving on. And then next up in the world of Arduino, Arduino posted up a huge article this week about derivatives and clones and compatibles. And an excellent, nice shout out to Teensy, Paul, and to Flora, Adafruit.
They like it.
Yeah, and this is what they said about you. They said, Lamore has contributed to over 100 libraries and countless tutorials about the Arduino becoming one of the most important members of the Arduino ecosystem. Congratulations.
I'm like the nitrogen fixer of the Arduino ecosystem.
So check out the article, really interesting. They catalog some of the potential issues that they're having with people using the Arduino trademark name, all the different types of Arduino compatibles and boards and all that.
I think people want to support Arduino, and when people buy a genuine Arduino, they're supporting the Arduino company, which pays for development, design. There's actually a lot that gets involved in designing and writing the IDE and software. Like it's a lot of work, and so supporting the Arduino and all the tutorials that they write too.
Yeah.
So if you buy a genuine Arduino or a genuine Arduino product, and we carry pretty much every Arduino product that's made, if it's available to buy, we can buy it. You support them, and they make good hardware.
Okay. Next up, we'll switch the mailbag. This is Pack at the Mailbag. See him?
Hey, Pack at the Mailbag.
We get letters from customers and we read them. I love this little guy. So this is Pack at the Mailbag. This week, this is a very fast one. Hi. Your Adafruit Ultimate GPS Breakout 66 channel with 10 hertz updates is slicker than pig poop. Sure love how fast it is. Works perfectly. JBL.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know that pig poop has those lubricative properties.
Yes.
It's not in the data sheet, but that is one way to put it.
Next up, we release the
Neo Matrix.
So
this is awesome. This is way awesomer than anything. It's a matrix that allows you to take our NeoPixel strips, or even just floor pixels, whatever, and turn it into a graphics display. Like it'll handle all the math for you, the tiling and the zigzagging or the swirling or whatever, to make it into a display with pixels, so you can actually make walls, LED graphs, whatever the heck you want using our LED pixel strip. It's great. Nice work, Phil B.
Okay. Next up, we're just going to blow through this news really fast. Chicago Library is now a makerspace. This is really neat. One of the articles I wrote a million years ago at Make was, how can we turn libraries into tech shops and makerspaces and all that? So
I remember reading that.
Yeah, and
they have a laser cutter, a vinyl cutter, 2 laser cutters, a milling machine, and 3 3D printers. That's actually a lot. That's more than I got.
So 3 years ago, I wrote about this when I saw a lot of public libraries going through funding challenges, and I said, "This is your shot." And so some of them actually got together, and they contacted Make, they contacted me, and librarians are really good about organizing. They're actually
so organized.
They can actually get stuff together and apply for grants and everything. So I think this is one of the first of many libraries that will be converted to makerspaces. A library is a hackerspace. It just now we finally have the tools that can make that
Hackerspace of ideas.
Yeah, before it was
But that's
Dewey
cool.
Decimals, and now
because
it's
you can go to the library, you can take out the machinist handbook, and then you can build stuff right there. That's actually very handy.
Yeah, so this is the future, because when the economy kind of tanked, everyone went to the library to maybe you would just write up your resume or something.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be a great opportunity for people to learn new skills, like using a laser cutter or a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This is happening. It's happening. It takes a while, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So that's big news. Next up, an Adafruit Learning System. Our favorite place. How many tutorials do we have now, lady?
260.
260. We have just an updated tutorial this week. What is this?
Oh, I copied over the Adafruit Proto Shield, or I think Tyler or Jeff did, and I just checked it out and approved it, and now it's on the Learning System. So if you're building in Adafruit Proto Shield, you can now check it out on the Learning System.
Okay. Next up, Wearable Wednesday. Every Wednesday.
Oh, I also wrote a tutorial for the Motor Shield, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that.
We'll talk to it, yeah.
Wearable Wednesday, every Wednesday. Things in the world of wearable electronics. I have a couple of quick projects I wanted to share. This one was neat. This is a bow tie.
Pixel bow tie.
Yeah. You could run the NeoPixel code on this.
That's right. You can make that into a matrix.
Yeah. And then Becky and I did this hangout, this Element 14 hangout. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. And it kicked off the Get Closer challenge. And we also, and do check out the site on that. The contest is going on. But we also did the first world live premiere of a flora underwater, so I wanted to show that. So
Okay,
everyone
always wants to know, can the flora get wet?
Blue.
Yes, it can.
Yes, you can.
You can.
So that is our demo for
Best novelty ice cube ever.
Yeah. And
It doesn't
looks
like
a
being
fun drink, but
being underwater for more than 6 hours. So
I don't like being underwater for more than 6
nobody
hours.
does. Yeah. So
I get all wrinkly.
I
Yeah.
get antsy when it rains, man. Come on.
Yeah.
so yeah, we coated it with this sort of hydrophobic.
It's called Never Wet from not Rust-Oleum, is it?
It is Rust-Oleum.
It is Rust-Oleum.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on TV, but you can also get it at hardware stores, and
Yeah.
we sprayed it and it works great.
Yeah. So we're working on it. And then Becky had a video. I don't know if I'm going to have time for my demo. So I made I'll just show a photo. I made a color piano that plays music based on the color at the end of your finger. So we have this color sensor. I don't think I'll have time to do that tonight, but it's over
We'll shoot
there.
it again.
Yeah. We can
There's
do that
a
some
long
other time.
future for this.
Yeah, but Becky did a video of a project, and I want to go to that. It has a Learn doc, and we're going to watch the video now.
Are your electronics missing that human touch? Put your heart into it.
Build this fun circuit to show the rhythm of your beating heart with Flora, Adafruit's wearable electronics platform. I'm wearing the Polar heart rate monitor, which wirelessly connects to the receiver module included in our educational starter pack. So just wire the receiver to Flora and load up the sample code included in the complete tutorial for this project. The link is in the description. The transmitter has a range of about 4 feet, so I can put the receiver circuit on my outfit, on my book bag, and even pass it around for show and tell. The magnetic pin back and tiny li-poly battery make this project super small and portable. We soldered up this heart-shaped display from 8 Flora NeoPixels that pulse with light when heartbeats are detected. But you can also use one of our I2C matrix backpacks to display complex animations and text, like your average heart rate in beats per minute. Whether you take it on a date or on your next workout, we hope we've inspired you to make your own heart rate project and then share it with us on our weekly show and tell on Google+. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe for more Wearable Wednesdays.
Put your heart into it.
All right, so you got the
Okay.
project right here.
Yeah, so I've got this hooked up. I'm wearing the polar sensor underneath. And so this is just calibrating right now. Hold on, it's gonna wait for some data. And then it'll show the heart rate. Hold on. All right, so 68 or so, that sounds about right, 65. So yeah, there's 2 different models of this project. There's the model that has a little LED matrix connected, which shows the actual number. And then, yeah, it uses the same polar receiver, which is kind of neat because it's completely wireless, and it can be up to like 30 feet away. And then we have a version that just blinks a heart.
Okay, we're going to keep moving along. Next up, we have 3D Thursday. We show a couple things around the web. I picked up this one because I was going to ask Charles if you saw this. This is at MIT. This is this silkworm thing that they were growing. It's a computer-controlled silkworm 3D printed thing. So the computer guides the silkworms, and this was the Silk Pavilion.
Yeah, this was
3D
the Media
printed.
Lab.
Yeah.
This is actually a little-
The mediated matter group. So anyways,
I
think
know,
it's actually-
I know some people in that group, but I can't say I've been keeping track of
I think this was a
project.
couple months ago.
yeah.
I think it started a couple months ago.
I like this project because it was a combination of bio stuff, like silkworms, and then 3D printing. So it was kind of like having these little animals as your 3D printers. I thought it was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's good art.
Yeah, and then also in New York, for New Yorkers, there is the Coney Island Scanorama, where you can go and get yourself scanned and then printed out. So I
Coney
guess
Island.
that's the new family portrait. Yeah. Next up, Pi Day. Every Friday we have Pi projects from around the world. Real quick update, our Pi miner that we released that shows you how to turn a Raspberry Pi into a Bitcoin miner has an update. Colin worked on that. and
Yay. Yeah, it's a little
updated.
bit better, a little bit
Yeah.
faster, a little bit better,
Yeah,
cleaner.
and then next up here
Minor
is
here.
this is a Raspberry Pi controlled Star Trek set, which is really neat.
That's
so
nice.
yeah, so it's kind of like it has everything that you want. It has Star Trek and Raspberry Pi stuff. So okay, moving right
I
along.
need to get more into this Raspberry Pi thing.
Yeah. So speaking of, here you are. This is us at Maker Faire last year, and you're wearing the same shirt.
Yep.
Is it the same exact
It's
shirt?
actually, no, it's not. No. we got new shirts from ITers, which are just
Yeah.
copies of the existing.
And so what I thought would be neat is, because we don't get to hang out with mechanical engineers and robot engineers, and Mort said she had a bunch of questions. While you guys talk, I'm just going to flip through photos and feel free to glance over.
All right.
I think
Okay.
one of the ones I just want to start off with is, one of the things I like that you do is you publish, and because you publish, and you're using our CAPTCHA, by the way, our resistor value one, you're one of the first people to adopt it.
Best thing ever.
Yeah, it stops all the spam. You have to learn electronics if you want to comment on the blog. But I think what's neat is you're publishing, and once in a while I see your stuff gets picked up by gadget sites or something. They don't know what it is. And I think this is one of the ones I saw. This is your like motorized skateboard thing.
Yeah.
It's Bear Frog Tank or what is it called?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
It doesn't look like it's very fast, but it will get you there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's called Land Bear Shark.
Land Bear
We
Shark.
thought about Man Bear Pig, something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then one of my buddies was like, "Oh, you should call it a land shark," but that name is kind of played out. It's like, okay, Land Bear Shark.
Bear
There
shark,
you go.
half bear, half shark, half land.
Yeah, and then real quick, and then Lamore started asking questions. So you also just recently started a project which is electrifying a
Oh boy.
van.
Yeah, so that's actually quite a story.
Yeah, do you want to tell that story, and then we'll dig into the questions that Lamore has? Yeah.
Really short term is that was pretty much the largest application of Yolo Swag I've ever pulled off. So the real backstory of that one can be found on my website, and it's really way too long to be explained in detail here, but I like that style of like cab over forward control, like like boxy van. I'm just that kind of guy. Some people like Corvettes, some people like muscle cars, some people like Miatas. I like boxy vans.
Well, you can put a sheet before ready by in there, so which is what's
Is that
really
the reason?
important.
Yeah, it's very practical, and also they're actually mid-engine and rear or four-wheel drive, so they're performance machines too. But essentially, I found one on Craigslist one day for $1,000. Talked the seller down to $800. It wasn't running. Didn't know what was wrong with it. I didn't ever see it in person, and we rented a U-Haul with a trailer and drove down to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania from Boston, which was 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then picked it up. So I was gonna drop the engine, convert it to electric. And I have lots of buddies who work in this, the battery industry and the EV parts industry. One of my friends actually cleaned out the remains of Azure Dynamics, which is one of the companies that went under a few years ago. So we went to the bankruptcy auction. So we had on standby, 100 kilowatt induction motors, big battery packs from our favorite alphanumeric battery company. And so I was like,
It's like a DIY Tesla almost, right?
almost,
You're
yeah.
kind of
We're-
making your own Tesla.
We are talking about like Tesla levels of power, and
Yeah.
one of the plans slated for it is in fact trying to rig into the supercharger network.
Oh,
That'd be
wow.
cool.
No one's talked about that. Like, have they said nobody can charge other cars?
So we don't know yet. By Tesla's pictures, we think it's just a big DC link, like a huge 9-volt battery, with a microcontroller doing like handshaking. If you can fake that handshaking,
That's easy.
yeah.
Fuck
You can
that.
find someone with a Tesla Model S and just like tap that little control line. You
Yeah.
can fake yourself being a Model S.
Well,
It's
thank
probably
goodness.
just something that says like, "Hey, like, are you a Model S?" And it's like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Okay."
Yeah, bro, I'm a Model S.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank goodness you just didn't talk about these plans on a recorded
I know, right?
internet broadcast.
Now someone has to race me to finish this.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's gonna be
yeah.
Tesla charging station hacking is cool. It's the next frontier.
Elon, I hope you're not listening.
He's not listening.
Is it a rocket ship or something? Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so that's one of the plans with this electric van is
Yeah.
to maybe tap into.
Unfortunately, I got it running. So yeah, so the story.
With
van.
not with the motor, with the engine, not
yeah,
the motor.
I fixed the engine.
Okay, fix the engine.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
So now you're like, "Oh, that works."
yeah, I was like, I'll put in one honest effort, learn some auto tech, and get myself in there because I need a wrench on anyway. Turns out it was just the timing belt was stripped out, and it's an
That
old.
happens a lot.
Yeah, it's an old non-interference engine, which means if the timing belt slips, it doesn't crash the valves into the pistons.
Yeah.
So, and I was just, cranking the timing shaft pulley. It's like, why is it just kind of spinning? In any old engine, it would have probably destroyed it. But we got it running, and I, in fact, just drove from Boston to Adafruit World Headquarters on it. Somehow.
Okay.
Wow.
I hope you're not getting towed
so
right
now
now.
you're an auto mechanic.
Yep. I'm a van mechanic.
So you're like not so sure if you want to electrify it next. You're like, "Oh, no, it works."
Well, I learned that the way the world works is you first get a car that works, and then you buy an explicitly non-running car, and then you mess around with it.
Oh, is that how it works?
So
Okay.
I may go that route, or when I'm not supposed to be driving it around during the winter months, like I just don't want to deal with the salt and the rust, maybe I'll do the work then. And that's currently that project is not really
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
active.
So, while you guys start talking and asking questions, I'm just going to
Okay,
have
let's look at
some
some-
things. You're known
a
for all
scooter.
these scooters. And
Scooters.
there's just like a million different scooters I found on your site. It just never.
Something
it
like
was
that.
never ending.
They're all variants of the same scooter. It's like different,
So
same person, different hats.
these are all this is your so you model it before you make it.
Yeah.
And you do that just because, well, you're going to cut out these parts and you just want to make sure the parts fit, or is it you actually enjoy
It is kind of both. Sometimes when
Right.
I get an idea, like some inspiration from staring at something on the internet or whatnot, like I really just want to design one up, and it's like, oh, I want to build this kind of thing. You know?
You know what's interesting? It's like designing something in CAD software. It's like all the joy of creation without like the tears of actually having to build it.
Absolutely. Like,
Like-
so it's definitely, you don't have to commit your resources yet, especially with modern CAD software getting more and more realistic.
Yeah.
Back in the
It
day,
is pretty
you
realistic.
drew a box and a circle. These days, you make an extrusion that represents
This is like
the profile.
this is like shocks and everything. So
Yeah.
you use a technique where you actually use water jet aluminum sheet,
Yeah. So,
and you like just nut it together. You don't weld it together. Just why not? You just don't want to, or it's cheaper not to.
So part of it is because I don't personally like trust my ability to weld aluminum. Second, it was
Yeah.
just availability of facilities. It was easy for me because I worked in several different labs at a time when I built that to access water jet machines. And so
There's one in like the Course 2 labs, right?
Yeah, so the Course 2 Media Lab Architecture, they also have one of these. OMAX, I think, was founded by MIT engineers or something.
that explains
so
it, yeah.
They love these.
Don't
So
stick your hand in the jet.
If
Okay.
you look at this up close, it looks like a MakerBot. The nutting, the joint nutting technique that you see on those like DIY kind of projects,
Yeah.
the laser cut one and routed ones, they're in fact on here. It works very well in metal.
Yeah.
The only downside is not everyone has access to a water jet, but nowadays with
Yeah.
online services, that's changing too.
Well, another question is why not make it out of like mild steel and then weld it?
I could have done that.
But it's just
in
you
fact,
prefer. It's just like cooler looking. I mean,
I will say that is kind of hardcoreness because it's when I was building that, I was driven by awesome. I have access to this sweet tool I want to use all the
Yeah.
time. Really, what that is a completely inefficient use of material. Because
Yeah.
plates are very bad at absorbing loads when they're in long spans.
I'm
like
kind of surprised. Yeah, you don't have anything else to because if you have a left T-nuts, I guess it keeps it, but it just feels like it could pop out or
Yeah.
wedge out a little easier.
Clever design will load the material onto the rest of the material. But yeah, it's just that design was very inefficient. Recently, I redesigned Landbear Shark to use a more trussed out kind of frame with tubing.
So when I let's look at some more photos.
Yeah.
So when I built stuff with I like this tread plate. That's a nice tread plate.
Yeah, so this is
So
you
I
made
see-
your own Segway.
I see there's some 80-20 here, so I actually like building it. Why not use 80-20 frame and then sort of like attach some
do
light
now.
sheet to you like
Yeah.
80-20 more. I
Yeah.
love 80-20.
It's interesting to see, like when I go back through my project history, which is nice because there's pictures of everything. You see distinct like build styles.
Yeah.
And I think everyone who's had experience building stuff for a long time will see they will go through periods of where they have like distinctive styles. For the first few years of when I was building stuff, it was just plastic bars I could buy at Home Depot. Everything was made of that. And then when I got here, everything was made of like billet milled aluminum because oh my god, I have a milling machine.
Yeah.
Then I got got access to the water jet. And then a few summers ago, my friends built a go-kart that was mostly 80-20. I was like, why have I not used this before?
80-20 is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I took an 80-20 like build stuff IAP class, and I was like, oh my god, this is like the most incredible. I mean, you cut it with a hacksaw,
Yep.
and then if you have a water jet, you can make adapter plates, which is like
Exactly.
pretty sweet. But you know what? You don't actually have to. Like we have like a lot of 90-degree adapter plates, and they're like $2, and they're like pretty chunky aluminum. These are like eighth inch thick, like they're fairly
Yeah,
thick.
you can make very robust mechanisms with that 80-20.
It's just it's so tedious because you're like, oh, I'm screwing it together. So this is more of like that sheet style.
So that was actually one of my very first T-nutted mechanisms. That's my
Yeah.
my 2007 robot from 2009.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's a pretty intense.
One of the projects that
Incredible.
I wanted to show here, because I
Grabber.
think this one made the rounds online. You made a ball copter. It was a quadcopter inside a ball or something. You were working on this for a bit. How did that work out?
So the ball copter was I saw it on the internet. It was built by the Japanese Self-Defense Force, like they're DARPA essentially. And I was like, my goodness,
They love spheres.
I want one.
Yeah.
It's
I want one so hard.
basically like yeah, they're just like they love just like this elegant
It's
floating.
conceptually
death
very
thing.
simple. You look at the 8-9 flaps on it, but what it is, it's a little model airplane that's hovering vertically all the time. And the control surfaces normally on the wing and the tail, they become like the pitch and the roll and the stability. So unfortunately, this was really before I'd picked up flight control knowledge. So all the controls were extremely unstable and bang bang. It was running off an Arduino. It was fine for like processing power, but I just didn't quite understand at the time how these sensors, like the 6-axis gyros, accelerometers, and whatnot, they were supposed to work. So
They don't work very well. That's
Yeah.
why. And so here's like a 6
8.
copter, octocopter. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Octocopter.
Yeah.
And so you've got, and what's the benefit of having 8 versus 4, just more
So
horsepower?
what's interesting to see is that on a quadcopter, it has 2 what I like to call unit vectors. Like if you
this
if you
way
keep
and-
2 motors constant
Yeah.
and you vary the other 2, then you can pivot this way or you can pivot this way. On a hexcopter and octocopter, you have more directions that you can just pivot in without actually having to vary the speed of all your motors.
Yeah.
So it makes for a more stable platform overall.
Okay. No, yeah. I mean, there's also it's like averaged over a larger number.
Exactly.
So yeah, you've got like a little like center part and these 8 legs, and then
So
did it work or?
This one actually worked very well. It used a commercial quad-rotor control system that Hobby King, which is a major RC parts retailer, now they sell. And what it actually is 2 quad rotors. One that's a plus configuration with a prop facing the front, and the other one's an X configuration with the middle of the 2 props facing the front. So it's actually a Siamese quad rotor.
Okay.
Wow. And the other thing
Oh,
I
yeah,
wanted to
these.
show is we have some go-karts here, and
The go-karts.
yeah, and I think it might be useful to talk about
Where'd you get that seat from? Seats are the hardest part.
That's a lawnmower seat.
Okay.
lawnmower seats. They have good seats.
No, this is really hard.
Yeah,
Where do
and
you
it
get
seems
seats
like
in?
just from the outside looking at your project work, you like stuff on wheels. I mean, like
So this is like your 80-20 days.
Yep.
Okay.
Which means this is like yesterday.
more standards. Yeah, but
But
so-
80-20 is perfect for this stuff because it's like, yeah, you just put it together and then it's like you just you water jet a little bit if you want like some custom stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's easy to like loosen and move around, and also everything comes like perfectly square, which is it
So-
gives it a certain look.
I would actually like to plug that project explicitly, because what this is, I call it ChibiCart 2. The official project name is the Democratic People's Republic of ChibiCart.
Okay.
And let me explain why it's called that.
Okay.
Originally, the goal of ChibiCart, when I built it, was to make a go-kart that fit in the front half of my buddy's go-kart. So it was
Okay.
very small by nature, and I call that just ChibiCart. It's a Japanese like word for small. It's like slang. So that ChibiCart had my custom hub motors that you might have seen on some of the scooters.
yeah.
The internet, the magical, wonderful internet, picked it up, claimed that I reinvented Mario Kart for like the nth time.
Yeah.
And then what I noticed was that people commented, was like, well, this kid just has too much resources and too much spare time. I could never do this because I don't have, $20,000 in machine tools. So I actually took up the internet on their challenge for once, and this ChibiCart is designed 100% using online available water jetting resources. 80/20 you can buy from hardware stores and industrial suppliers, and it has no machined parts. You don't have to have a lathe or mill or anything to build it.
Yeah.
And it's on instructables, so you
Wow.
can build it.
And this is part of it here,
And
right?
and what do you for the motor? Wait, can you go back? Sorry, I just
Yeah,
want
I wanna
to see.
go back
So
here.
for the motor, it's back here, and it's just like a DC motor, or what is
So
this motor
what that
back
is an RC aircraft motor.
Okay.
And if you're building small electric vehicles these
you
days,
zoom into
the
this?
RC hobby is perhaps it's a huge boon for us EV builders, because the cost of these very powerful systems had come down so much in the past few years.
And what is an RC? What kind of motor is this?
So it's it's called a brushless DC motor in just like colloquialism. And what it is, it's an AC. It's actually an AC motor. So it requires an external inverter. And what we use on that is an electric bike controller. So
Yeah.
those brushless electric bikes with their big hub motors. you
Well,
can use
why
it
would you
on
use
little
a
one.
brushless motor versus like a brushed standard DC motor?
Mostly for coolness. So what I
Okay.
wanted to avoid with
Alright,
this
cool.
Instructable was making steel tube frame, truck starter motor welded to a wheelbarrow, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you see like DIY go-karts, a lot of times it's something like that. So the goal of this was to see what you could do with modern machining, modern resources, modern motors, modern batteries. So this uses lithium-ion batteries instead of just like old car batteries, for instance.
Well, but isn't like a lithium-ion battery like? I mean, it is lighter, but it's much more dangerous than using a lead acid. But what's the benefit? Just because it's lighter?
It's lighter, it's the prevailing current technology. But the parts that I picked for this have internal battery management systems, so they behave like lead acids, so you can use any old charger.
Okay.
And I was actually going to use like the hobby-style lipo packs, like these little lipos, except they're enormous. But ultimately, you're right, it is a safety issue, because these soft shell packs can get punctured and damaged easily.
Yeah.
And I've seen way too many people just take a zip tie and just, like sling it onto their
Whoa.
frame.
Yeah.
It just like squeezes the cells instantly. It's like,
What about using like the 18650 LIFEs, the lithium ferrite,
like
PO4, or whatever the I don't know the name.
LiFePO4, lithium
Yeah.
iron phosphate.
Yeah.
Just by using raw cells, it's just a matter of, do I really want to be teaching people to solder across something that can dump 100 amps into you instantly? Things like that.
So it's
that's why
just
I
an
chose
issue of
to-
having a pack. So you could
Yeah.
get these packs basically.
Yeah.
So I
You
mean,
can buy
like,
these modules.
and most bikes they use. I thought they used phosphate, not
They do.
cobalt.
Yeah,
Ooh.
they do. These days, most electric bike batteries are, in fact, lithium iron phosphate. So
Okay, that's probably
really-
probably a good idea if you're going to have like this gigantic battery under your ass.
Absolutely. yeah.
Probably.
So maybe I should update that instructable to use like a modern e-bike battery.
No, because I gotta no, that's right. Because I see this and I'm just like, well, that's like what I see and what I hear. Because like we sell li-poly batteries and they're very small, but like I've seen how easy it is for a li-poly battery to just start leaking. I mean, it's very easy for them to not get charged properly. So I'm kind of interested in the lithium iron phosphate batteries. They are heavier. And but they also have a lot longer charge cycle. Like you can go for like 1,000 charges instead of like a
or
couple
actually
hundred.
more like 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, they're
So
but they're heavier. Well, maybe that doesn't matter.
the energy density is just a little bit over, typically about 1.2 or 1.3 times over nickel metal hydrides. So
Yeah.
you feel like you're stepping back a little technology-wise, but the fireproofness and their power density is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can get a
so-
lot. And then they're not too expensive either.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
Now that the
they're-
Chinese have caught on it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy. So when you're building motors, sometimes you're building, and then I saw like in your logo for the miter shirt, you have a little hub motor. And I've never built a hub motor. So why would you build your hub motor instead? There's nothing off the shelf. You can like bike hub motors. Why can't you use those?
So I
Especially little
actually
BMX bikes that have like hub motors in them.
So I started building hub motors just out of curiosity. Okay, This
Okay.
is like my freshman year at MIT, and I was
And you're like, I love magnets.
I love motors, and I want to build them.
Okay.
So essentially, I looked to motorizing my Razor scooter. I noticed that nobody made hub motors that were smaller than about 8 inches. And even
Yeah.
the 8-inch ones, they're designed for assisting a wheelchair. So we're talking 100-watt motors, so very,
Yeah.
very weak. So I was like, you know what? These RC Outrunners, capable of 4,000, 5,000 watts and like something the size of your fist, why can't I scale them down and put them in a wheel? And the answer is, well, you can. So that was built entirely for just giggles and
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
research into small motors.
And I have some photos of.
But now they've got
small parts.
like skateboards that have like hub motors in them. So that's kind of or maybe they use gears. I don't
so
know.
Some of your early projects where you were doing that, where you were putting,
Yeah, like there's-
putting some of these motors in.
It looks the battery. You're stepping on the battery, which is great. And then
Those two scooters you showed are actually conventional, like chain drive.
okay, so
Yeah.
here you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a chain drive, and then where's the so there's the green things are the batteries.
It's a model of the cells. yeah.
There's the cells, and then there's this gear system here. And the black thing is the controller.
It is.
And then where's the motor itself?
It's that orange thing that's kind of like chilling back
Oh,
there.
it's chilling. Okay, and that is another one of those like RC motors that
It
you're
is.
repurposing. And how so these are brushless DC motors more efficient than brushed motors, or is it just
They're more efficient and power dense. So if you
Yeah.
need something that'll give you several hundred watts in like this size, you wouldn't go with a DC motor.
And how can you pull that much current out of these batteries? I mean, really, the lithium-ion batteries are like totally cool with you just pulling
Absolutely. It
100
depends on the
amps?
construction of the battery. Typically, like a laptop battery is optimized for energy. The
Yeah.
plates inside are very thin. If you try to pull too much current out, they'll overheat and destroy themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas a vehicle battery, a traction battery, has very thick plates, typically lower energy density, but you can just like dump current really fast.
But then if you're drawing like I'm assuming you draw like 20, 30 amps at a time. I mean, how can you like run for more than like 10 seconds?
On that scooter that you just showed, you don't. It was built pretty much explicitly for drag racing.
Okay.
But what you compensate by like adding more batteries, more
Okay.
or less, and that's currently what every electric vehicle manufacturer is just that's a pain in the neck for them because if you're gonna go 100 miles, your car is made of batteries.
It's all battery.
Yeah,
Well, it's just
so
like those iPads, like all battery.
Yeah.
And then we should get to new products. You want to maybe show some more little things? Is there
Yeah.
anything else you want us
Well,
to
I
show?
I
or-
tried to do a smattering of all the stuff.
Smattering.
This was one of the giant. What was this
My
that you were
goodness.
working on?
What is
yeah.
That was my epic failure at making a quadcopter. So if
They're
you notice,
huge.
it uses ducted fans and it weighed about 30 pounds, and that the span you see between the upper and lower fans is about 3.5 feet. And that was just one of my very ebullient, very enthusiastic first attempts at building something that kind of failed miserably. And in fact, it also ate me. I don't know if you can see this.
That was one of the most. I saw a video of these
What
fans.
this fan? You'd actually like you got your arm in the fan.
What
and-
happened was it took off uncontrollably because I pressed reset on my Arduino.
Don't do that.
So
or have
don't
pull
do that.
downs. Or have pull downs
Yeah.
on everything.
So and it flipped vertically, and I actually just like kind of shielded my face, and one of the fans hit me end on. Luckily, it's end on, so all it did was kind of like scrape. It wasn't a gash.
Okay.
But it was ugly. So I scrapped that project very quickly, and that's why I built little copters from then on.
So after that,
Yeah,
it was
30-pound thing
it was
coming
like,
at you.
Yep.
okay, you're not gonna hurt me.
So
too much.
these little quadcopters also use little brush motors, right? And
Brushless,
that-
actually. Yeah.
Brushless motors, because they're just such light, small,
Light, small, and powerful.
and powerful. But they're even though, I mean, I wouldn't want to take this in the face, but these are not powerful enough to actually hurt you, or
Not
like
really.
not
So
really. Like
those
if you put your
props
hand up, it's
tend to just break if they hit anything.
that's probably a good idea. I was actually kind of surprised. I think the like the quadcopter you can buy, like the Parrot. I think it has a little guard.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. Still a good idea. You
Okay.
want to get buzzed by it anyway.
Yeah, it's an plus one. Okay.
All right, we're gonna
cool.
hop to new products.
I learned a lot about motors.
Thank you so much, Charles. This is fantastic. This is a great overview of a lot of good things.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next up, it is new product time. This is where we go over, and you're not gonna be able to hear this later, but we finally have a sound.
Where's it playing?
It's going do 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 do. Or maybe I can do a sound. Want to hear this?
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's the
That's
sound.
glorious.
Quite a sound.
Yeah. So
Okay,
that's a new
that's
product.
awesome.
I think the fellow's
Da,
name was
da, da.
David Smith. He's a composer, and he says every week you guys say you're going to do a new product sound.
Yeah, it's like 4 years.
And we sing it. We just go do 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 do.
Here
So he
is the
actually did it for
products.
us.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. New products.
Glorious.
We're going to go through these really fast. We have the MakerBot Adafruit editions back in stock. We have only a few of these. These are limited edition. And they have the Adafruit plate. They come with kits. And if you use the discount code tonight, it will be 10% off, which is because we don't have a fantastic deal on these, but we do okay. So that's the MakerBot deal. First up, Lady Ada, you got wire in the store.
It's wire wrap wire. This is wire wrap wire. It's handy because it's really, really thin. This is 30 gauge solid core wire. It is just really thin. And it's really great for prototyping. And let me just move this to be a little bit more. Okay, so there you go. So yeah, it's just extremely thin wire, and it's people say like, oh, I'm going to blue wire hack something, or I'm going to repair some surface mount components with some wire wrap wire. You can also use it for wire wrapping, if you're one of the last 6 people on Earth who wire wraps.
Okay, next up, this is a really neat product. This is a switchable voltage supply.
Yes.
And
It's a switching supply that's also switching.
Yeah, so I'll just show the photos real quick.
Yeah, the photo's actually kind of more useful than looking
we'll
at
get
it.
through it in a minute. But this is really helpful because it has all the different plugs,
Yep.
all the different things you need.
You have all the plugs, and
Yeah.
also it is,
Go to the overhead.
you can change the voltage. There's a switch here, so you can do 12 volts, 9 volts, 7.5, 6, 4.5, and 3. So if you have 3.3 volt logic, the 3 volts, and because switching power supplies are a little bit higher voltage when they first come out, and then as you draw like an amp, they droop a little bit. So for 3 volt logic, you could use a 3. For 5 volt logic, actually the 4.5 is good enough. 6 volt kind of simulates 4 AA's, 7.5, and 9 volts. And then 12 volts is also pretty standard. So this is kind of like a 1.5 volt battery replacer, but it's also really handy because you just have one power supply and you switch it, and you can do up to 1.5 amps, and it comes with like all these little plugs that you could possibly want.
Handy. Okay, next up, stacky headers.
These are upgraded stacky headers. We now include the 2x3 header, which
These are so hard to find.
is handy.
Yeah.
But that comes with a full set. So this is like, it's the same price. Now you get 6 different stacky stacks.
And then the next round of products, you'll probably like these, Charles. These are feedback servos, and you can record and play back servo motion.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love these things.
These
Yeah.
are
I haven't
cool.
had a chance to use them yet, but I love them so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so historically you've had to modify a servo to get this. And now we have it, so it's actually, we just contacted a servo factory that makes like pretty good servos, and we're like, hey, can you make a servo for us which has one more wire? And so you can see that there's one more wire. And they're like, yeah, sure, if you buy 500. I'm like, okay, done. And so it has one more wire, that's the feedback wire, and that connects to the potentiometer inside. And so like I've got this little demo set up here.
You have a demo.
And so if I press the record red button, it'll listen to the analog input pin, and then I can stop, and it saves it to the EEPROM. That's what the demo does. And then when I press the green button, it repeats the motion.
You gotta be kidding me.
It is awesome.
Isn't that cool?
So here's what the problem that this actually solves is, and you can just press it again to repeat it. The problem this solves is reverse kinematics totally sucks. And so if you're building a project with servos and you're like, well, I want this arm or I want this leg to do something, and in your head you're like, well, I want it to move like this, and then move forward, and then you're like, okay, I get my matrix algebra, and then you're like, I hate
ever
this.
made a hexapod here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's loving this right
So,
now.
so we started with getting just the big servo. We're going to get smaller, the little micro servos and the Metal Gear ones as well. We wanted to start with this just to make
Go
sure.
the other way. Please make a 50 horsepower servo. Right? And I know people you can contact.
The one that just like smacks you and then you just play repeat. So it kind of solves this fun problem with like I want to build a robot that does something, but you might not want to like figure out how to program in the motion. But in this case, you can press record. It'll print out the value, so you can just use that as a table, or you can just store an EEPROM and play it back. So yeah, this is super fun. And then yeah, you can just have a little party.
Wow. And here I've had trouble with people asking me what the third wire does. You're going to make people ask me what the fourth wire does.
It's the feedback pin. So yeah, it's just you just need an analog input. So I think these are super cool. I've wanted these for a while. I know people who modify servos, but now we just have them ready to go, and they're just like standard servos, but better. And it comes with a bunch of horns.
And
I don't have them, but love the photo.
Last up for this week, we released an update to one of our most popular products of all time, the Motor Shield. And the Motor Shield, that's been our kit for Arduino for a really long time.
This was like product ID number 8.
Yeah. And
It's an early product
here's
number.
some beautiful photos of a motor party that we have. We always say motor party with this stuff. And here's the side view, top view. And it's a big update for us. We wanted to have it assembled so people can just out of the box start doing stuff.
Yeah, so the nice thing about this is it now comes assembled. And here's the little motor party. It has a little DC brush motors having a good time, with servos moving back and forth. And then we also have a stepper motor, which is stepping, so it's all very loud and annoying. And I'll just turn this off for a moment. So it basically is very similar to the old Motor Shield. You can control 2 steppers, bipolar, unipolar, or 4 DC motors. You can also control like solenoids and stuff too, anything that's kind of motor-esque. It now has a protection input FET, so less likely to damage it. It has a reset button. It has all the pins broken out, which is nice. We also upgraded the motor driver. We used to use the L293D, which was like 600 milliamps, 1.2 amp peak. This is a 1.2 amp, 3 amp peak. So it's like 2 or 3 times more current per motor bridge, and there's 2 full H bridges in each one. So that's great. You can also double it up if you really wanted to. And what we added is instead of having a shift register, which was really simple and easy to use for the first version, we've upgraded it to now have a onboard PWM generator. So this is a free-running PWM generator that runs over I2C. So you only need 2 pins, and it runs at like 2 kilohertz, and it will control micro-stepping, DC motor, speed, stuff like that. So it's really handy, and we had extra space as prototyping. And one of the cool things about it is now because it's got an I2C PWM driver, it doesn't use Arduino pins. It only uses these 2 I2C pins that you can then share with other I2C devices. So for example, you can stack the motor. So here's one motor and shield, and then here's another motor shield. And then you can stack up to 32 shields and set the addresses. So now we've got 3 steppers, a DC motor, a servo, and you can add up to like 60 more DC motors or 60 more stepper motors. I don't know what you would use 60 stepper motors for, but
So wait, what you're telling me is I can take 32 of these, put them all in parallel, and make a go-kart out of them.
yes, you could. If you can provide power.
That's
Charles only sees the world through, can I make a go-kart out of
You
it?
bring the power. You can, so, I mean,
It's like 50 amps.
the one thing that yeah, I mean, there's terminal blocks for each one. The one thing that I thought would be cool for this is a lot of people are like, well, I have maybe like a robot arm, or like a robot that has 4-wheel drive, but then I also want like some steppers, or I have a 3D printer type thing where I have X, Y, Z, and then rotation, and so I need 4 stepper motors. And so, I thought like you could stack 2 shields, and then you can get 4 stepper motors, and then if you just want more components, you can just stack them up. And it's $20 a shield, so it's actually like a really good deal, $10 per stepper controller, and it does full micro-stepping support, and it worked with the Excel stepper library, so you can have this be like fully like interrupt-based motion automation. So that can be like really handy. I thought this would be useful for a lot of people doing automation and robotics, especially when you have a lot of steppers. And most steppers, you don't need more than 2 amps, so.
Yeah, this is great to see because one of the biggest impediments historically of just people trying to make multi-dimensional systems is your Arduino only talks to one motor shield because you're depending on these digital pins.
Yeah,
Now
so
it's good to see they're networked together.
So this is the same chip that we also use for the servo shield. So actually you could stack this with the servo shield. The servo shield, you can connect up to 900 servos. So you could do 900 servos plus minus 64 steppers. I don't know. I mean, just have a party. Motor party.
You guys got to help me think of what's.
Well, I don't know what you can.
900
Well,
servos, 64 motors.
somebody did use the servo driver and did chain them together to make a piano playing robot, and he used one servo. Each servo was a key.
My goodness.
So they needed 8. They were like, I actually need 88 servos, and so they chained the driver, and they're like, you provide current, and it works as long as you can provide enough 5 volts.
Okay.
You're good to go.
And that was new products. Let me do this.
Okay.
That was new products. All right.
All right.
Do that. Everything that you saw that we have in stock, 10% off in the Adafruit store. And we're going to do a speed round of questions. So the fellow George, who records our show remotely of the Ustream show, said we can stay a little later. We usually end the show at 11. But we're going to do some questions. And if you guys want to get ready, I'm going to say them as fast as I can.
All right. Hopefully, a lot of motor
oh, boy.
and chibi cart questions for Charles here,
All right.
because he's a
Someone
guest.
want to know: are we going to carry Big Chuck's Charles Big Chuck Robot Industry products?
Do they exist yet?
Big Chuck's Robot Warehouse, a division of Adafruit Heavy Industries.
Okay, yeah, we'll check this out. I'm starting to get into more, as you saw, like the motor shield, which is actually like a year-long process of optimization. So I'm getting more into robotics and stuff. I have historically no robotics background. I did no robotics all my life. So this is all really new to me. I'm like, I don't even know what a brushless motor is. So this is kind of fun.
Okay. And Charles, if people do want to buy anything that you make, or see the things that you make, or find out more, where can they go, or what can they do?
Yeah, so I'm kind of, half-heartedly in the process of making my own Adafruit-like entity.
Yeah,
And that's,
I want you to compete with me and like put me out of business. That'd be awesome.
I think we're in slightly different industries for me to do that. So
Oh, man.
the stuff that I have out right now is just like 3 of us engineers. It's just a high-powered, like we're talking 50 amps per side, dual DC motor controller, just for robotic drivetrain applications, and also a gear motor that uses a DeWalt, like a cordless drill 3-speed gearbox.
That's a good idea.
That's in a CNC billet mount. So we're talking with 2 of these guys and my controller, probably can move like a 100 or 200 pound robot. So it's kind of big stuff. The website for that, if you look up =0 designs, like my website's called =0. So we just really quickly whipped up a website to sell these.
Oh, great.
Okay.
So
Okay, so you're getting
These are, like your tagline should be like robots that can pull your arm off.
I think we're aiming even bigger in scale.
that was
Okay.
taken. There's only the .net left for that.
Okay.
Now, if you go to bigchucksrobotwarehouse.com, I already got that domain, and it redirects
Okay.
to my
All right.
website.
All right, Big Chuck.
This is for Adafruit. Are we going to carry the Arduino robot? Yeah, as soon as we can
As
buy
soon as
them.
we can. We
Yeah.
cannot buy them yet.
Yeah, as soon as we can. Next, there was a previous question. Oh, here we go. Someone wants to know if we found the voice for Cappy. So we're doing these tryouts here at Adafruit. The staff is going to do the voices of the puppets that you guys saw. So we still haven't had our staff tryouts. I keep moving it from.
We keep having delays,
the
but we'll
week,
get to it.
All right. I think we're set because I'm going to have to do wrap up the show. I have one quick thing on our. We try to do a part of the show is top secret. It's not out yet. Don't ask.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Top secret, don't ask.
Yeah, top secret.
Don't ask.
So we have 2 things.
Okay.
First
One.
up, we're starting a new coloring book. R is for robots, and this page is D is for drone.
That's a cute drone.
So it's a kids coloring book that's R is for robots.
That is very cute.
Yeah, and then next up, Lady Ada is working on LED goggles.
Yeah.
These are almost.
Who doesn't
ready.
want LED goggles? Nobody. Everybody wants LED goggles. So yeah, we're making these LED rings, and then they're perfectly sized for goggles. That's all I have to say.
All right, and then next up, Charles, if someone wants to get started in building like electrified vehicles, what could they possibly do? Like, is there any resources or anything?
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
the whole reason why I've documented this so much is because there's not really a centralized place where people go if they want to build this kind of thing. Because there's kind of, if you want to do start electronics, these days we have Adafruit and SparkFun, big names to point to. Not so much with the EV and like even robotics community.
Yeah.
Like the mechanical domain hasn't really condensed out of the cloud so much yet. We don't really have a dominant name.
Yeah.
The best thing I can recommend is, for now, just Google search what you want, like something mechanism, or like I want to build a heat-seeking robot with a fire extinguisher on it, etc. Instructables is a great place to start. Otherwise, like my website has many links to people who've built stuff in this robot and vehicle domain. So like my scope is actually kind of limited because that's a lot of stuff that I build. So if you really want to build like a bartending robot, I can't really help you. But then there's a lot of folks, including some of my friends in the robotics community, who have built bartending robots. One that looks like a giant R2-D2.
I love bartending robots.
Yeah.
That's what I got these peristaltic pumps in the store for.
Yeah,
bartending robots.
unfortunately, I don't really have like names to throw out there yet.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
So as a follow-up question on this, so you've chosen to stay in be an instructor right now. Have car companies or people approached you to say, hey, we want you to come in private industry and make electric razor scooters? I mean,
the scooters, in fact, have gotten quite a lot of popularity and that kind of thing. My personal take on it is that there's not really enough of a market to justify that, but this is, again, one of those hazardous things that, oh, well, I don't think anyone's going to buy it, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago, so I still get requests for those, believe it or not. It's just I haven't taken any action on that.
Someone wants to know, they want us to ask you about fan cart.
Oh boy, fan cart. You're just going to have to Google that. I'm not even going to mention.
Okay.
Sounds dangerous.
Is it another fan that attacked you?
Almost.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. Fan cart. Oh no, I know. Do we posted fan cart? Or is that?
No, that was
It's
Zaz's
a giant fan
cart.
that powers.
It was in a shopping cart. I built the fan because I was investigating making a DIY large diameter shrouded propeller, and then we needed something to test it on.
Oh, okay.
Duct tape, shopping cart, go.
Okay. So
Zaz made a fan cart too. That you're remembering that.
They're very
there are
dangerous.
multiple fan carts.
These are very dangerous.
For some reason,
I
this is
keep
one
my
of
fan
those-
cart separate.
Yeah, this is one of those things that for some reason the internet likes, and were things that I actually put effort in they don't like.
They're they're kind of mythbustery. It's just like, oh, can you actually move a human with a fan?
We didn't even move a human. It was just a
You
shopping cart.
can't even move
that
a
was-
shopping cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really hard.
And then as far as the razor scooters, is there a how-to somewhere online that says you have one? Here's what you need to do to electrify it. Is there anything out there that is
It's
there
pretty
instructable,
hard.
or is there anything? Quite
There are
yet?
several instructables that have been written by people who've built these small electric scooters, including several friends of my own. But there's currently there's not a fixed site for that anywhere. 'Cause these scooters, the issue is there's so many different makes and models that you can't just say get this and you put this.
Also,
motor
you
on.
actually do need to have one of those big base scooters so you can fit
Yeah.
the batteries. Like a Razor itself, I can't imagine you can.
That was the issue
really
that led me to create a larger custom frame one, like one of the ones that you showed, is because I just can't fit enough batteries.
Well,
in
it's
the
funny
mini.
because it's like for a couple of years it was like DIY segways were really hot, and now it's like you can see DIY electric skateboard. Like it's kind of there's like fashion.
It's
in
So something like this,
EV.
you had to make this because you're like, I need a lot of battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing is these days it's very easy for people to get into this because again the two industries that have been attacked by the Chinese manufacturing conglomerate are RC hobby equipment, very high density and powerful motors and controllers, and the electric bicycle industry, which is reliable, solid, current controlled, torque controlled, that kind of thing. So
yeah, they got cheap controllers and these battery packs you can get for
absolutely, like these
good
days
deal.
you can put together a basic rideable thing for under $200 if you know where to shop.
Yeah, I want to electrify our little bicycles at some point just for fun.
Yeah, we have these little Brompton and a
Little foldy bikes.
Bike Friday.
And I want to get a hub motor and then maybe the back because there's a little rack you can put the batteries in the rack.
And then two questions. So, if someone gave you a Tesla, would you take it apart or would you drive it? Like, what would you do?
I'd take the drivetrain and put it in the van.
Yeah. And then next up, did you see their idea where you would pull into a station and the batteries would get removed? And
I saw
swap
that.
back in?
It was
What do you think
very,
of that?
very impressive engineering. But I'm in the camp of those people who think that battery swapping is not really economically feasible. Partially because until you get every auto manufacturer to adopt a single battery standard, you're gonna have to go to a Tesla station to get your battery swapped, right?
Yeah.
So it's a charging thing.
The idea came from a Better World, which they came up with this idea of doing battery swaps, and actually it makes sense if everyone has exact same battery. Although the only thing I always thought was kind of unusual was it's what if do they have like charge rate like history? Because like you don't want to get stuck with like a crappy battery because
Exactly,
as you
right.
get if you get the battery shop, you don't know what battery you're getting. The battery might have only like a 70% of the life or half the life of a new battery.
Presumably
You don't know.
they'll take care of that thing.
I'm
but
assuming
yeah,
that it's like they figure out how to take care of it.
Yeah, but where I see this going is
Maybe you don't even
universal
own the
charging
battery.
jack. So that's
Universal charging.
Number one, so the SAE J1 standard is currently like the thing for vehicles in the U.S. There's the European standard, the popular Japanese standard, but like the universal charging plug with modern, very fast charging batteries. Because the superchargers, they can already dump 120 kilowatts into your car.
Wow.
That is a small town. So, and second is the proliferation of actual efficient fuel cells. Because honestly, I think batteries are kind of a stopgap solution to return to higher energy density fuels,
Yeah.
but used in a much more efficient fashion.
So what about someone wants to know the ultra caps? Do you ever see those being used in
You
electric
do,
vehicles?
and what you see them for is sudden energy storage. So let's say you're going 60, 70 miles an hour and you come to a screeching halt. All the energy otherwise gets dissipated as heat. But the issue with batteries is that most batteries can't efficiently accept that rate of charge. So you lose a lot of the energy anyway. So ultra caps are great for that.
I saw that problem with like we had a friend who was working on like a crank charger, and he said one of the biggest problems is like, the crank charging like basically like a gear train connected to like a stepper or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, that worked great. The problem is it gave you like 20 amps,
Yep.
right? When you start, it gives you like 20 amps. He's like, you actually can't use it. Like people can like give a lot of energy for a short burst, and then you have to stop. And he's like, it's actually like it's hard to charge a battery effectively at that rate. So
Yeah.
I don't think that really
The
worked
downside
out.
of ultra caps, and especially in vehicles, is lack of energy density. They got the power density, and they can charge and discharge very fast. But even if you have a Tesla-sized energy like an ultra cap, you're still going to get
Yeah,
10 miles.
people are like, how long can
5 miles,
how long can
3
I
miles.
run like this GPS on like a a super cap? And I'm like, 3
Not
seconds,
that long.
2 seconds,
Yeah.
maybe 3 seconds, not very long.
All right, that's everything. That was a speed round.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Do you have any more questions for Charles before we
No, I'm all set.
wrap up the show? Okay, now it's time to do a trivia question.
Trivia question.
It is trivia question time. Lady Ada, what are the rules?
Rules are if you've won a fabulous trivia question, you cannot enter only one winner per lifetime. The prize today is a motor
Want
shield.
to give away a motor shield?
We're giving away a motor shield.
All right, as
And
usual.
because it's a special guest time, and you get an analog feedback servo. I can get both.
Wow,
I can get both.
that's great.
You use them together.
Okay, the trivia question is the first person to type it into the chat I see. Where is Bose headquarters? What is the city and state? Where are they at?
I don't even know that one.
You can't. I forgot to mention. People who are in the studio cannot answer the question.
Yeah, we've had to do
You
that.
cannot
So,
enter this trivia question. Marbose.
so while we wait for people to hit Wikipedia, I'll answer another quick question. Someone wants to know if we're going to carry the Arduino GSM shield. Probably not. We're working on something. Mr. Morden, congratulations. It's
Framingham,
Massachusetts.
Fire
That's where
Whiteland.
That's where it is. That's where their headquarters are.
That's where, like,
9,000
everything is.
people. That's a big company. Yeah. Privately held too. All right. Email support@adafruit.com and you will get a motor shield and a feedback servo. Congratulations.
I hope you enjoy your servo and motor shield.
That's right. Okay. So, special guest Charles, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
on
Yes.
thanks for having me.
And Nancy and Cynthia and Hannah, thank you for being our first studio audience.
Yeah.
We have to have a rule. The studio audience can only be engineers. Is
Yeah.
that fair? Right?
It's not a laugh track. It's an engineering track.
Yeah. All right.
They were doing prom sets while we were talking.
Okay, this is great, and you guys are welcome to come back in the future. Hopefully, maybe next time you can bring a electric-powered something, and we'll have our first little mobile broadcast. Maybe we can actually have it on a little go-kart.
Zoop, zoop.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome.
And if anyone wants to find out more information about your work and everything, where can they go again?
You can go to my website, which is e⁻+1.net if you got that down, or just search my name, Charles, last name Guan.
All
Or you
right.
can just search for like land bear shark and follow the Google links.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we also have a link on the Adafruit blog right now.
Or fan cart.
Under special guest Charles. Okay, and
All
with
right.
that,
Build go-karts, everyone.
we'll see
More
everybody.
go-karts.
Lots
Next
of
week,
them.
we always have to show a picture of our cat. We used to have a cat at Adafruit, and now we don't have a cat here at the factory. We just have him at home.
He's totally fine. He's just at home.
He's totally fine. We just have to show a picture. Otherwise, people are like, "Where's the cat?" Kids stay up. and
He's
they don't wanna die.
completely alive and functioning. He's just not here.
Everything's fine.
Not in
And
the
then
factory.
a special debut of a new Zener photo. We've had the same because we have a moment of Zener at the end of the show, and we finally have a new photo as of today. John Janier,
All right,
our
let's check this photo.
photographer. Your moment of Zener.
That's very Zener.
All right.
All right, we're out.
Cool.
So you can just hit mute on those mics.